Lots of announcements this past weekend at RootsTech 2023. Let's break it down, hear what happened, and so we're all prepared for 2023 in genealogy. Hi everyone, my name's Denise Allen. I'm a researcher here in Pennsylvania. I usually talk about Pennsylvania, but today I'm talking about RootsTech. If you didn't watch my last video on how to prepare for RootsTech and take advantage of it, it's here and you can click and watch that one too, and make sure that you take full advantage of everything that RootsTech has to offer. So what were the big announcements at RootsTech? There were a lot. I'm going to cover in this video the announcements in the Innovation and Tech Forum, the announcements from Ancestry, and the ones from FamilySearch, who were the hosts of RootsTech. But before I get into those announcements, let me cover a few definitions for you so we are on the same page when I start talking about some of these changes and new features coming out. The first thing to know about the big changes at Ancestry and FamilySearch in particular involves records and how we're going to view and access records and how fast we're going to have access to those in the future. Now, most of the records that we are looking at as genealogists are handwritten. We are fortunate that the typewriter did become an item and we can view some typewritten records, especially in the 20th century, but for many of us, we are going through handwritten records. The quality of those handwritten documents can vary greatly. It could be due to the age of the paper itself and the ink has faded. It could be the way the record was originally scanned on microfilm, or maybe even the way it's been digitized recently, or it could just be the handwriting of the person who made the record. Well, we all struggle with reading other people's handwriting. Well, transcription is the process of taking those handwritten records and putting them into our modern form of typewriting, which is what is done on the computer. We type them up, and the process of transcription until just recently wasn't much better than that done by medieval monks. So if you can imagine having a handwritten document open on your screen or next to you on your desk, and then you sitting there typing everything that you see on that page into a Word document or a Google Doc, that has been the process of transcription. But we now have the fortune of using artificial intelligence to help us with that transcription. So transcription is the first important part about records that to keep in mind as you hear these announcements. That is the big hurdle that a lot of these companies have faced for decades. The second hurdle was around indexing. So it's great to have a transcribed record, but unless you index it with the important information that people want to know, you're not going to know which record to show people on the site. So indexing is the next important item, and that again was done by humans looking at the record and picking out the names, dates, and places on the record. And again, now with artificial intelligence, AI, those records can be read in their entirety. It can be indexed in its entirety if we so chose, and then shown for people to be able to search against. Now, most of the time the search fields are going to stay the same in these search engines. There has been some additions added that we'll be seeing in 2023. Pay attention to Ancestry and FamilySearch for any updates on those as they're announced. And let's get on with the changes. Now, the Innovation and Tech Forum at RootsTech had many companies come and parade their newest technology for the attendees, and that is also available on video. I included the link in the show notes. You do need to sign up as a member of the FamilySearch website to be able to view the RootsTech videos, but it's completely worth it and it's completely free. So in the Innovation and Tech Forum, we found out about new ways to both capture and share family stories from our living relatives right now. We also saw tools to use AI technology to take what's in newspapers and help that with our story making. And we also saw a new family tree on the blockchain, which involves having an uneditable family tree that will last in perpetuity. That sounds interesting. And there's a DNA company which will allow you to scan across all the available DNA databases in existence. Most of us are looking at maybe 2 or 3 companies at this point. And there are new apps for both making family trees and connecting with existing family. So because I am not an affiliate or sponsoring in any way any of these companies, and I have not honestly checked out all this technology myself, I am not going to share the names of them with you right now, but I encourage you, if you are interested in the technology part of RootsTech, to go ahead and check out the link again in the show notes. It's called the Innovation in Tech Forum, and you can watch the presentation of all the upcoming technologies for 2023. Now on to Ancestry and their accomplishments in 2022, as well as their announcements for what is upcoming in 2023. The too long didn't read or TLDR version of what is coming up with Ancestry, it is going to be what they did in 2022, but on steroids. So in 2022, Ancestry used their proprietary AI technology to index 5 billion records and add them to their site. So this was a new high for them, and the plans for 2023 is to triple that and add 17 billion additional records, and that's billion records. And that is phenomenal because that is going to increase our availability of what we can search for. The largest record set that they added in 2022 was the 1950 census. That I'll talk about a little bit more when I talk about FamilySearch in a little bit, because FamilySearch and Ancestry partnered together to get that 1950 census up in a record amount of time. There has never been a census indexed faster than the 1950 census. Ancestry is starting to go through and re-index databases that they already have. So this is databases of images of records that have been indexed in the past by humans. Again, they're using their AI technology to go through and pull out more information off of each record. So the example that they shared was probate records, and how in the past all they had was the decedent's information, the person who was deceased and had made the will. Now they're going to add the names of the executor or executrix. If the person had enslaved people that they were passing through their will, that will be listed. They will also have the names of the heirs as well as the witnesses. All this is awesome information for genealogists. The only way we could previously access that was to look at each individual record and read it, again, in handwriting, to be able to know if our ancestor was on that record. The other new thing that Ancestry is doing, and they piloted it in 2022 and they're expanding it now across all the states, is they are going to be using AI technology to clip out news and stories from newspapers at newspapers.com and then index them and link them to Ancestry. So look for that coming in 2023. It is happening fast, and they also mentioned that there will be more historical newspapers added. I wish they had said which states or which newspapers, but we will see, and we will all hope it is the ones we want. Now, for myself personally, in terms of catch up and re-indexing, I am hoping that they go through the Pennsylvania state birth certificates and the Pennsylvania state death certificates and catch those up. So if you don't know what I'm talking about in terms of catching up and what's publicly available versus what's on Ancestry, I encourage you to check out this episode of the podcast where I talk about our Pennsylvania state vital records. And you can also check out my book where I write about it extensively. But basically, the short version is, the TLDR, is that these indexes are publicly available. Ancestry has a contract to scan them and make digital images, but the indexing of those images has taken years, as many as 3 or 4 years in the past, to actually see the records that I should be able to see technically online now. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that AI technology gets used for some of the existing databases of just certificates that aren't larger documents. And if you want to keep up with what Ancestry is updating or adding, they do have a webpage on their recent collections. I've included a link in the show notes, and it's always a great idea to just drop by there every once in a while. You can add a reminder on your calendar just to see if the databases on there that you use most often are updated. But of course, you also get those green leaf hints for your ancestor if they were in that time and place, and possibly in the records. Now, in terms of AncestryDNA, AncestryDNA still has the largest genealogy DNA database in the world at 23 million people. This is exciting if you use DNA to help you in your genealogical search or genealogical proof of ancestors. In 2022, Ancestry launched their side view technology, which will show you your maternal and paternal lines in terms of DNA. They have figured that out. You should be able to label which one is which. And Ancestry's corporate genealogist, Krista Cowan, did do some deep dive videos on AncestryDNA, what the changes were and what is upcoming in 2023. And I included a link to those in the show notes, so you can watch it there right from RootsTech. More changes we expect from Ancestry is around storytelling and capturing stories. This seemed to be a big theme of the conference this year, both with the theme of unity and then the storytelling. So with the storytelling, most of the functionality at this point is in the Ancestry app on phones. So you're going to find it on your phone or tablet in order to be able to use these things. But you'll be able to not only keep your pictures in the app and then share it to your family tree, you're going to be able to enhance those pictures and now add audio to them. So you can explain who's in the photo and what the story is behind it when you go to share it with family. The other thing, the Ancestry app, and I'm laughing about this because this is a real bone of contention for all of us as family historians. The other thing the Ancestry app is going to have you do, it is going to encourage you to tag your photos with people, places, and dates. So if you haven't labeled your photo with that metadata, Ancestry will give you a nice reminder every time you open up that app to go ahead and make sure that you do it. And of course, all the future genealogists thank you for tagging your photos. Now, if you like these kinds of updates from me about genealogy and family history, I'm going to ask right now that you hit the subscribe button to be sure that you don't miss these updates. It also lets me know that you value the content and you're interested in seeing more of it. Now on to FamilySearch. FamilySearch is the host of RootsTech and they're creators of RootsTech, and they did not disappoint in terms of their announcements this year for 2023. They have been making numerous changes to the FamilySearch interface since last year at RootsTech, and if you use the site, you have noticed that things have moved around, some of the fonts have changed, some of the style has changed, and there's some new functionality in terms of searching. Those changes are going to continue on in 2023, and FamilySearch encourage people to give them feedback through the website. There is a feedback tab that you can click, and they ask people to kindly comment on what's working and what isn't working so they can keep improving the site to make it more usable. And I love this idea, and I also love the idea that as they're incorporating these changes, they do have a toggle bar at the top of the screen where you can toggle off the changes. If you just can't deal with it that day and you just want the old site back, you can get the old site back, at least for a short time, before the new changes are completely incorporated. Now, one of the key differences between FamilySearch and Ancestry in terms of us as researchers is that FamilySearch allows us to look at images that are not indexed. We can just browse through them. We can just scroll through the images and read them as if we were reading the original material. And Ancestry only shows us images that are indexed. FamilySearch started a process of digitizing their microfilm several years ago. They wrapped that project up, but they are still adding images to FamilySearch at a breakneck pace. They added 1 billion, again with a B, images to FamilySearch in 2022. They are on track to add even more this year in 2023. And for those of us, again, as researchers, we are just salivating, waiting to see if what we want and need is going to be added to the site. If you would like to help with the indexing of those images, FamilySearch is using AI technology also now to do a first pass of those images doing some rough indexing. And they're asking for volunteers to do corrective indexing, basically checking to see, did the AI, did the computer get it right when it indexed this? So there is a link in the show notes if you want to sign up to volunteer to help with that effort. The faster things are indexed, the easier it is for people to find, people that don't read handwriting and find that difficult. And just so you know, the whole reason the 1950 census got up in 90 days, it's just incredible, was the volunteer effort at FamilySearch. Ancestry scanned and did the first cut index of the entire 1950 census off of microfilm, gave it to FamilySearch, who then had their team of volunteers all over the country indexing those images and putting it up onto the database. And so it's just amazing to me what teamwork and community can do to make something wonderful for everyone. So just to give you a little bit of perspective too, the 1940 census took 9 months to get up and indexed. And so the 90 days is a huge improvement, and they're looking forward to it being even faster when we get to the 1960 census in 2032. I got my calendar marked for that, and I hope you do too. A lot of the other functionality coming to FamilySearch involves how to collaborate and share. Again, a similar theme with Ancestry. So they'll now have a new way that you can view living people and share that information with a select group of people. Because right now in genealogy, we can view all the deceased people on a family tree, but we can't view any of the living people. So look for that ability to be able to form groups, either with family or friends, to be able to work on genealogical issues around living people, specifically tied to deceased people and family trees. They also added this really cool feature called First Ancestor View. So not every culture traces family history the way we do in the West, is where we start with ourselves and then go upward. In other cultures, particularly on the Asian continent, Korea, Japan, China, when people ask what family they're from, they start with their oldest known relative and work their way down. So FamilySearch has added that capability that if you, in your culture, worked from top down or from oldest to youngest, you can now do that in FamilySearch. FamilySearch also captured over 100 million oral genealogies across the continent of Africa over the past several years and indexed those. And I'm really excited about this because this capture and indexing of oral history has been a real missing point in terms of family history. So if this project works and is really effective and helpful, I'm hoping to see it continue across other continents and other cultures, and also find a way for us to pull in our past family stories, our old family stories that maybe people aren't even telling anymore, and getting those on the site and indexing those too. That would be super cool, because we all talk about family lore, typically now in genealogy, and I'd love to see it captured and indexed. So that is the highlights of RootsTech that I had. If you had other highlights and things that stood out to you, I want to hear about it. Drop it in the comments, leave it in the review, or if you're a newsletter subscriber, you can reply to me and let me know. Maybe I'll make another video with your topic that you love. I know I didn't cover all the changes at all the DNA companies. There's a lot, a lot of changes, a lot of upgrades. It really is the cutting edge of genealogy a lot of times, what is going on in terms of DNA. I hope that some of these technology changes and updates to Ancestry and FamilySearch and other places really help you discover your ancestors, and I hope that you got a lot out of RootsTech.